All right, welcome to our explainer. Today, we're going to talk about a force that quietly shapes every single decision you make and really our entire economy. We're talking about time itself.
You know this question, right? You face it every single day. Do you buy that coffee now, or do you stash that money away? Do you book that vacation or beef up your retirement fund? It feels like a really personal choice, doesn't it?
Well, here's the thing. That dilemma, it's way bigger than just you or me. It's pretty much the central trade-off that every person, every business, and every government on the planet has to wrestle with. And how we answer it, collectively, basically decides what our future is going to look like. So, to even begin to tackle this, economists had to completely rethink something basic. What even is a good? And what they figured out is that when you get something is just as important as what it is.
This is such a cool little mind bender, but it makes perfect sense when you think about it.
Why?
Well, because you can't use next year's coffee to help you wake up this morning, right? Time makes them two totally different things. Economists have a name for this: dated commodities. And honestly, this one idea is the key that unlocks the entire economics of the future.
So, how do we choose? How do we balance our present self, who wants that coffee right now, and our future self, who, might really need that money down the road? Well, it turns out it's all about a constant tug of war happening inside your own head. Economists actually measure this with something called the discount factor, or beta. But I find it's easier to think of it as your own personal patience score. If your score is close to 1, you're super patient. Your future self's happiness is nearly as important as your current happiness. But a score down close to 0, you're all about living for the moment. And you can see exactly how that score affects behavior. A patient person, they want a nice, stable lifestyle. No crazy feasts followed by a famine. They're going to save to smooth things out. An impatient person, on the other hand, will happily have that feast today, even if it means way less food tomorrow. And look, neither one is right or wrong. They just have fundamentally different preferences about when they want to experience their happiness. Okay, now, don't let this formula scare you. I know it looks intense, but this thing, the Euler equation, is basically just a recipe for making the smartest possible choice. All it's saying is this: you should save just enough so that the little bit of happiness you give up today is perfectly balanced by the bigger happiness you'll get tomorrow, all thanks to the interest you'll earn. It's the mathematical soul of every smart financial plan out there. So that's how a single person saves. But what about a whole country? How does an entire economy save? I mean, you can't just shove a nation's wealth into a giant savings account. The way an economy saves is by building things that will help it produce more in the future. And this is what economists call capital. The easiest way to think about it is as the economy's toolkit. It's everything from giant factories and laptops to highways and power grids. Every time we choose not to consume something today and instead use those resources to build a new tool, we as an economy are saving. We're investing in our future. And this kicks off this incredibly powerful cycle. You start with the tools you have, your capital, and you use them to produce goods and services. You consume some of that stuff, sure, but you set aside some of it, like seeds, to build even more and better tools. That's your investment. Now, of course, old tools get rusty and break down. That's called depreciation. But if you've invested enough, the next year starts with a new and hopefully bigger toolkit, and the whole cycle repeats. That right there is the engine of economic growth. Okay, so if investing in more tools is the engine of growth, should we just save everything? Build as many tools as humanly possible? Well, the answer is surprisingly no. There is a perfect balance, an economic sweet spot. And that sweet spot has a pretty cool name: the golden rule of capital accumulation. And listen, it's not about being rich just for the sake of it. It's about finding the exact level of investment that allows everyone, for all future generations, to enjoy the highest standard of living possible. It's all about maximizing long-term human well-being. The logic behind this is actually beautiful in its simplicity. It just says, keep building new tools and new machines as long as the extra stuff they help you produce is worth more than the cost of their own wear and tear. The very moment that a new machine costs more to maintain than the value it creates, you stop. That's it. That's the golden rule level. And you can see it so clearly on this chart. Over on the left, if you invest too little, well, you don't have enough tools to make a lot of stuff, so your consumption is low. Now, look way over on the right. If you invest too much, you might have incredible tools, but you're spending all your time and resources just fixing them, so you have very little left over to actually enjoy. And right there in the middle, that's the sweet spot, the golden rule, which gives you the highest sustainable lifestyle. Okay, but we all know the real world isn't this tidy. It's not one person or one society making one clean decision. It's billions of different people, all interacting across many generations. Let's dig into how that complicates things. In the real world, we have rich people and poor people. We have those super patient savers and those super impatient spenders. And sometimes, a brilliant entrepreneur with a game-changing idea just can't get a loan to get started. All these real-world wrinkles mess up that perfectly balanced picture.
So to handle all this messiness, economists came up with a really fascinating tool. It's called the Overlapping Generations Model, or OLG. Instead of pretending that society lives forever, it models the world as it actually is. At any point in time, you've got young people who are working and saving, and you've got older people who are retired and living off what they already saved. I like to think of it like a big relay race. Each generation gets the baton, runs their leg of the race, working, saving, building capital, and then they pass that economic baton on to the next generation. This constant handover creates some really unique economic situations.
And this is where things get really wild and counterintuitive. These OLG models show that it's actually possible for a society to save too much. How? Well, because each generation is just saving for its own retirement without really coordinating with the next one. They might, as a group, build up so much capital that the economy blows right past that golden rule sweet spot and has a name: dynamic inefficiency. And it means everyone is worse off because they all tried a little too hard to save for the future. Now, I know a lot of this can feel pretty abstract, but I promise you, these ideas about time, saving, and capital, they are the absolute foundation for some of the biggest and most important policy debates we are having right now.
So here's the bottom line. How do we design things like Social Security or pension funds? That's an overlapping generations problem. How we decide to tackle climate change? That's a massive question about our collective patience score. How we manage precious resources like water or soil? That's a capital investment problem. This stuff isn't just in textbooks. It is actively shaping our lives and our world every single day. Which really just leaves us with this one big thought. Every policy we debate, every business investment that's made, and every dollar you personally decide to save or spend is an answer to this question. We are always, constantly making a trade between today and tomorrow. The only real question left is, are we choosing wisely?